This is Tom Fox. I think everyone knows of my love for classic monster movies. I've blogged about them, I have podcast about them, I've talked about them, and I've decided for the month of October, I'm going to mine great monsters, great mad scientists, and some of these creations for leadership lessons for compliance practitioners. So over the month of October on Popcorn and Compliance, I'm going to feature some of the lesser known movies from the classic movie monster era of Universal Pictures, 1931 to the mid-1940s. I hope you will enjoy this series. I hope you'll enjoy my love of classic monster movies, and I hope you'll listen to Popcorn and Compliance. We continue our exploration of the Edgar Allan Poe themes with The Black Cat. Of all the Universal classic monster movies, I found this movie to be perhaps the most disturbing. And I'm going to take a relatively deep dive into it with both the background and plot line plus the analysis on both ethics and leadership. The story begins with an American couple who have to share a train compartment with one Dr. Werdegast, who is a Hungarian psychiatrist who says he's traveling to see an old friend. Werdegast is played by Bela Lugosi. As the night wears on, the couple learns that he left home 18 years previous to fight in World War I, and since that time he has not seen his wife or his daughter, as he spent 15 years in an infamous prison camp. There is a transfer from the train to a small bus, including the American couple Werdegast and Werdegast's servant, one Thamal. When they are near the destination, it's a remote home built by an Austrian architect, Polzig, upon the ruins of a famous fort where a battle was fought in World War I. Unfortunately, the driver of the bus loses control and has an accident. He's killed, and the fiancé of the American couple is injured. And he and his traveling guests, Werdegast and Thamal, take her to Polzig's home. After treating her injury, Werdegast and Polzig speak privately, and Werdegast informs Polzig, who is played by Boris Karloff, he knows who he is. He knows that Polzig betrayed the fort to the Russians, and that resulted in the death of thousands of Austro-Hungarian soldiers and Werdegast's imprisonment. He also knows that Polzig stole his wife and daughter, who are both named Karen, although Polzig told them they were both dead. There is a scene with a black cat, and it's quite jarring, and I'll just leave it at that. As everyone goes to their rooms, Polzig looks at a collection of preserved dead women on display in glass cases in the basement. He brings Werdegast to see one, and Werdegast recognizes one of them as his wife, who Polzig said died of pneumonia 2 years after the war, and he reiterates that the daughter, also named Karen, is dead. Werdegast is going to shoot Polzig, but he is spooked by the black cat, and Polzig says they should wait to have their confrontation until the American couple leave. The men part, and it turns out that Polzig has married Werdegast's daughter, Karen, and he goes to their bedroom. In the morning, the American woman, Joan, is feeling better, and they hope to leave that day. Werdegast confronts Polzig about how Polzig is looking at Joan, and Polzig mentions a ceremony scheduled that night, and he intends for Joan to stay. Werdegast and Polzig play a game of chess to determine the fate of the American couple, and after losing, Werdegast has the mall help place a call in a cell in the basement or placed Peter in a cell in the basement and locked Joan in a room to protect her. Karen, the wife of Polzik and daughter of Werdegast, stumbles upon Joan, who tells Karen that Werdegast is still alive, but the women are imprisoned by Polzig. That night, Polzig's cult gathers at his house. Joan, the American fiancée, is brought in, and Polzig approaches her, but a female acolyte of Polzig sees something which causes her to scream and faint. Taking advantage of the distraction, Werdegast and Thamal grab Joan and carry her away. Thamal is shot by Polzig's servant before killing him, and Werdegast urges Joan to escape. She tells Werdegast that her daughter is alive and married to Polzik, and he goes off to find her, but finds her dead on a slab. Polzik then enters, and both Polzik and Werdegast have a fight to the death. Thamal helps Werdegast overpower Polzik and shackle him to an embalming rack, where Werdegast begins to skin Polzik alive. Peter escapes his cell. Peter's the American, and he finds Joan. They find Werdegast crouching next to her and get a key from Thamal. And fatally wounded, Werdegast tells the couple to leave, and Werdegast ignites demolition charges left over from when the house was a military installation, destroying it and eradicating Polzig's cult. Having just experienced an unbelievable set of adventures, the American couple Peter and Joan review his latest novel, where Joan complains the plot is too far-fetched. So, as I said, it's a very, very disturbing movie, one of the, if not the most disturbing that I've seen in the Universal classic monster oeuvre. Interestingly, it is a pre-code horror movie, so the horror was perhaps even more so in this one than other movies. Next up, some ethical lessons from The Black Cat. Although the film is much more known for its eerie and indeed gruesome content rather than ethical issues, you can still glean some ethical insights from the film, although they may not be as direct or prominent as in other Universal classic monster movies. So, what are some of the ethical dilemmas? Well, number one, ethical dilemmas in extreme circumstances. The characters in the film find themselves in horrifying and morally ambiguous situations. This can serve as a reminder that ethical dilemmas can arise even in the most extreme circumstances. And indeed, in real life, leaders face difficult decisions that require careful considerations of moral principles. Number two, the consequences of revenge. As I mentioned several times, the movie plot involves themes of revenge and the character's pursuit of revenge, leading to a series of tragic events. This can be seen as a cautionary tale about the destructive consequences of harboring vengeful feelings and seeking retribution. And once you engage in this conduct, you're really changed forever. Number three, respect for others' beliefs and cultures. The Black Cat features elements of superstition and the occult. Ethical behavior includes respecting the beliefs and cultures of others, even if they differ from your own. This is particularly true in a multinational company headquartered in the United States. Leaders should be open-minded and sensitive to the diverse backgrounds and perspectives of not only their team members, but their employees literally across the world. Avoiding harm to others. The film depicts actions that cause harm to innocent people. An ethical principle to draw from is the importance of avoiding harm to others and considering the potential consequences of one's actions on individuals and society as a whole. Number five, the importance of empathy. While empathy may not be a central theme in the film, it is an ethical quality that can be emphasized. Leaders should cultivate empathy for their team members, understanding their needs, concerns, and emotions. This can lead to a more compassionate and ethical leadership approach. Number six, accountability for one's actions. In the movie, The characters face the consequences of their own actions, both Werdegeist and Polzig. Ethical behavior often involves taking responsibility for one's actions and being accountable for the outcomes, even if those outcomes are unintended or indeed unfavorable. And number 7, the danger of blind obedience. The Black Cat has several instances of blind obedience to authority figures. Ethical decision-making requires critical thinking and the courage to question authority when necessary, especially when it involves unethical or harmful actions. As I mentioned earlier, while The Black Cat is not a film primarily intended to convey ethical lessons, you can still extract some key lessons going forward. I would invite you to view the movie yourself and draw some of your own lessons from this classic Universal monster movie. This is Tom Fox again. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Popcorn and Compliance, and I hope you'll join us next week where we review the final trilogy of Edgar Allan Poe stories filmed as movies by Universal in the 1930s. We take a look at The Raven. Popcorn and Compliance is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I hope you'll subscribe, rate, and review wherever great podcasts are listened to.